Hare Krishna everyone, my name is Baktilata and I was requested to say a few words about why and how I came to Krishna consciousness and something about my YouTube channel. I have my own YouTube channel, Milasur, with 277,000 subscribers by the mercy of Guru and Gauranga. So the first question, how and why I came to Krishna consciousness. I was born and raised in the capital city of Macedonia, Skopje. Macedonia is a small country with only 2 million residents that is located north of Greece. It is the country where Alexander the Great and Mother Teresa come from. I was born in Orthodox Christian family, but my parents were not very religious. There was no reading of Bible or praying in our home. Also, my parents went just a few times a year to the church for big Christian festivals. And if I would to describe me as a child, would be 2 words: shy, introvert, and sensitive. So I can give an example. Shy, for example, when I was 6 years old, I was playing in a school drama, but then as soon as the curtain opened and I saw my mom in the audience, I ran down from the podium. I ran to her, I buried my head in her lap, and then I was crying and I said, Mama, I'm not going back, I'm too shy to play. Then sensitive, also around this age, I found a sparrow with injured wing. The poor sparrow couldn't fly, so I took it home and I asked my mom to please help. So she gave me one box. I put a lot of grass and leaves to make it soft, and I laid it, this poor sparrow, inside. Carefully I fed him with water and little breadcrumbs, but sadly the next day the sparrow died, and this really made me very sad. This was my first encounter with death. Then and there I realized everything that is born has to die. So I was grieving so much, and I organized a funeral for the sparrow with my friends. We dug a hole, we put it inside, we cried, we made a cross with 2 sticks like that. Then age 13, I wrote my first poem about a tree. In that poem I was lamenting why people cut trees when the tree gives us shade, gives us fruits. The tree can't speak, cannot say, please don't cut me. Why are people so cruel? So I was very, very, very sensitive child. If a child, normal child would be 10% sensitive, I would be 100% sensitive, like that. Then the cows. When I was 15, I was invited, well, me and my friends, we organized a New Year party in a friend's house that was nearby my parents' house, and we were all kids, about 10 kids, all from the same neighborhood. We were all going to same school and same class, and the parents knew each other. That's why my parents let me go. And then when while in the other room they were all playing and dancing, oh my god, the cow. Playing and dancing, I was in another room, like totally alone, looking out of the window. And then a friend came and said, Mila, what are you doing here alone? And I said, I just need a little bit me time. And then he said, you know, actually I want to tell you something, that I am now into India. And as soon as he mentioned the word India, I swear it was like a light bulb that was off for years and years. It went on, and all of a sudden the whole room was like illuminated with light, and I would just gasp, and I was India. And to this day I don't know how and why I did that, because other than learning little bit basics about India in school, I never spoke with anybody about India. I never saw like documentaries about India on TV. So it was very strange now when I look back. But then that friend said, you know, I became vegetarian. I'm into Zen Buddhism. I do meditation. I do Hatha yoga and like that. And while he was explaining what he's doing, I was just staring out of the window, and with my finger I was drawing the map of India. I even remember asking him, this India? And he was like, Mila, there is only one India on planet Earth. I was so fascinated. So 4 days later, when the shops opened after the New Year festival, I went to a bookstore and I bought all books that were there about India, and that was Bhagavad Gita and Upanishads, that was actually one book. Half of the book, maybe about 50-60 pages, was Bhagavad Gita, but not the Bhagavad Gita we know with verses and purports, but it was like written in a form of essay by some American philosopher. And the second half of the book was Upanishads. So I understood nothing. All I understood was that some Sanjaya and some Dhritarashtra and there is some war. And I was like, why is there a war when this is supposed to be a spiritual book, like the Bible for Christianity, Bhagavad Gita is for the Hindus? Then Upanishads was even worse. Didn't understand anything. I bought a book, a poetry book and short stories from Tagore, and I loved them so much. I will learn them by heart, some of them. Then I bought the book Thus Spoke Zarathustra. And actually, to this day, I'm very grateful to Krishna for protecting me, because this book was written by Nietzsche. And we all know that Nietzsche was the number one godless person. He was a nihilist. And the whole point of the book was God is dead now. So it's up to humans to determine what is the goal of life, something like that. But thanks God I wasn't influenced by this book. Then what did I buy? Zen Buddhism, and I was really attracted about Zen Buddhism, so I started practicing on my own. I became vegetarian like on the spot like this, and I would just for hours sit down on the carpet in my room, and I would just chant Om Mani Padme Hum, Om Mani Padme Hum for hours, thinking I will get nirvana, you know. And the funny thing is that my room was attached to a small balcony where my mom was hanging clothes for drying. And one day when I opened my eyes after meditation, I saw my mom like looking like this through the window in my room, and then she just made like, are you mad? You're talking to yourself. What are you doing on the floor like this? This was like really super funny. Then I enrolled in Hatha Yoga, and I also learned headstand, Surya Namaskar, pranayamas, meditation, all this stuff. And the funny thing is, I thought I'm spiritual. Now I'm vegetarian, I do Hatha Yoga, I perform some kind of, practice some kind of Zen Buddhism, so I'm spiritual. Then one day, me and my two best friends, female best friends, we were on the way to our Hatha Yoga class, and we were 1 hour earlier, so we just had to kill time. And then I told them, let's go to the nearby shopping mall and we just do some window shopping. As soon as we entered there, like after a few minutes, we spotted one young boy around 2021 with pile of books in his hand. He was shaved and he looked really like out of this world. He looked so special that we were all three, we were like, wow, what's that? My two friends were also into India like this. So we approached him and I asked, what are you selling? And he said, books about yoga. And I thought, wow, what a coincidence, because I'm just now on the way to my Hatha Yoga class. And then I looked through the books a little bit and I saw the book, The Science of Self-Realization, with Srila Prabhupada on it, sitting like very grave, looking in the distance. In the background was a Hindu temple, sunset. It was like, wow, out of this world cover. And then also the title of the book was what drew me so much. I bought the book, I bought some incense, and this devotee was a Croatian devotee. He invited us to come to the program. And I don't know to this day why he said they're practicing Ashtanga yoga, or maybe I understood him something wrong. I'm not so sure. But then I was so confused and I asked, how do I come? Do I take my yoga mat? Do I put some comfortable clothes? We will do some yoga postures or what? And then he laughed. He said, no need of all this stuff. Just come. Then we went there. And I loved it so much. It was very, very spiritual, very shanti place. But that first day I had an argument with one senior devotee who was trying to convince me with Shastric evidence that Krishna is the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And me being attached to Buddha, I tried to convince him that no, Buddha is the Supreme Personality of Godhead. But my arguments were not backed with anything, because I didn't know any Shastra at that time, and also I was just too sentimental. Then I went on from this moment on every single day to the temple. The problem was that I was an A student, like a nerd. And my French at that time was quite fluent. And my dad, he was like imagining that I will just study something, I will become somebody in this lifetime, and in combination with my language skills like French, Macedonian from my dad's side, Croatian from my mom's side, so I will maybe find a job in some international company like that. He was dreaming like that I will achieve something. But instead, I was going every single day to a temple, of course, hiding. And because I was very shy, I never really went out. So now I had a problem. What do I tell my dad? Where am I going? So I came with this crazy plan. There was one devotee brahmachari who was also maybe just 1-2 years longer in Krishna consciousness than me. I was just new. So I said, can you please, I have a crazy plan. Can you please behave, play as if you're my boyfriend and call me on the phone like around 5 o'clock when my dad is at home. He would always after work have lunch, and then he would sit on the sofa with a book he would read, so that he hears our phone conversation, and I will pretend you're my boyfriend and you ask me just like, hey Mila, can you come out, let's hang out, like that. And I will be yes, of course. But instead of meeting, I will go to the temple. He said no problem. So 1 time, 2 times, 3 times we did like that. But I guess I was suspicious. So one day my dad followed me with his car behind the bus, and he figured out that I'm going to the temple. So the next day when I went to the temple president said, Mila, you cannot come anymore. And I was shocked. I was like, are you serious? How comes? Usually we never discourage people from coming to the temple. So instead of encouraging me, you're forbidding me. So he said, I can't tell you why. And then it went on and on like this. And I started crying through their tantrum. You have to tell me, otherwise I'm gonna keep coming. And then he said, okay, your dad figured out that you are coming, he followed you, he called the police. So now we have a problem because we are not yet registered as a bona fide organization in Macedonia. So until this day come, please just practice at home secretly, but don't come. I was heartbroken, but I did come. Hare Krishna, cow blessings. I kept coming, but not inside, not to the temple. I was standing outside in front of the temple, and while they were all singing Gora Arati, I would take off my shoes, folded hands, and I would sing with them Kiba Jayo, Jayo Gora Chande, like that. And then when Gora Arati was over, I would pay obeisances and I would go home. Like that, I was really, literally craving for devotee association. And one day I remember I was in the apartment, I was fixing the bottom of my choli was ripped, so I was fixing it, and my dad saw it, and then he said, oh, what is this sari doing here? You cannot make temple out of my home, so I give you 4 months time to think whether you want to give up Krishna consciousness and be the old Mila, finish your studies, become somebody, or you have to leave my house. And without 1 second thought, I'm leaving, I cannot. Then my mom started crying. She was saying, you know, I'm an orphan. My mom was an orphan. I never had parents. I was always crying. I'm missing having parents. And here you are leaving us, and while we are still alive. Please don't do that. But I said, Mommy, first time in my life, I'm happy. And she knew very well what I'm talking about, because previously, few years back, I had to stop dancing ballet because ballet was my passion. Oh, the cow started chewing on my stuff. Classical ballet was my passion, and I really wanted to become a ballerina. I wanted to study classical ballet in the Bolshoi Theater in Moscow. And my dad was a mechanical engineer who worked on a project in Russia on the Black Sea. He was there in charge for some department, and they were building hotels. So by the time when he came back to Macedonia after 2 years, he spoke fluent Russian. So he was teaching me Russian because this was deep passionate dream of mine to be a ballet dancer. But there was some circumstances, it didn't happen. Actually, it was just doomed not to happen, my bad karma or good karma. And then I told my mom, look, you know how much I'm suffering, and please let me go and bless me. Then like that it went on for a while, and one morning at 8 o'clock in the morning there was a knock on the door. I opened the door and there were two policemen saying, ma'am, Mila, there is something wrong with your passport and ID. Please come with us to the police station and take your passport with us. So I just have to mention here that around that time I was already planning to come to Switzerland. I was already planning to come to Switzerland because, I was not allowed to stay at home in my parents' house anymore. So I was very naive and I believed them. I went to the police station, I gave them my passport and ID, and they told me, actually there is a big problem. We found out that you stole a lot of stuff from a duty-free shop worth, I don't know, 1, 2, 3,000 euros. And we know that you're planning to go to Switzerland, so maybe you're using these finances to finance this money to finance your flight and your stay there. And I was like, no, I'm a Hare Krishna, I will live in ashram, I don't need money, I didn't steal, I'm vegetarian, what to speak of stealing, I don't even step on an ant. Like that it went on, and I could see how the policemen were actually amused in a way, but they tried to be serious. And then on one point they said, no, we don't believe you, let's do polygraph. So I lied down with all these things sticking on my arms and heart here. And they said, you see, every time we ask you, what's your name, what's your parents' name of school, where do you live, address, like that, everything is normal. As soon as we ask, did you steal the stuff from the duty-free shop? You say no, but actually your heart a bit raises, and this is a sign, clear sign that actually you stole the stuff. So, okay, now you go home, we will look for more proof that it was you, and until then we will keep your passport. So it went another 2 months like that, and they kept my passport. But then all of a sudden I got a call from the police saying, okay, we found who is the thief, as if they found there was no thief. You can come and take your passport, which I did. And only after, when I moved to the ashram in Zurich, I got to know that actually my dad went to the boss of the company, went, I think, almost on his knees and cried and said, save my daughter, she's in a sect, please do something. And this fellow, this boss of the firma, was a really big shot at that time in Macedonia. So for him it was enough just to pull one string and the police was there at the door cooking up some stories. But please do not leave any bad comment about my dad, because this was really short-lived. After that we made peace. On his birthday I sent him a present. I bought him one green pullover and I wrote a poem, The Smile of My Dad. And then later I got to know from my mom and my brother that actually he burst crying. He was sobbing so much. Then he called me with tears in his eyes. He said, thank you so much for this beautiful poem. And then we made peace. And actually later on he became, from that point on, he became very much favorable. He ate tons of prasadam. He came to ISKCON Zurich for the program, Sunday program. He came to Skopje, ISKCON Skopje temple. He attended a program by His Holiness Indradyumna Maharaj. He received Radhakund, Shyamakund, Ganga, Yamuna water on his head. He said millions of times Hare Krishna. Even on one video after his heart surgery, he said Namaste, Hare Krishna to all Indians. Thank you so much for your prayers, for my good health. I'm really feeling now very, very well, like that. So he was really favorable. Instead, I would beg you to please bless my dad so his soul can attain the lotus feet of Radha Krishna in his next birth, because he passed away 6.5 months ago. this is my story, how and why I came to Krishna consciousness. And even to this day, I'm questioning myself. Usually Krishna gives so much like nectar, blessings in the beginning to the newcomers. You know, you get so much inspiration. But by me, it was test after test after test. But still, I'm very grateful that by the causeless mercy of Srila Prabhupada, I had the strength to say no to everything. No to, I left my studies. Actually, I just started, maybe I was 3-4 months. I didn't even finish the first semester. I studied philosophy. I quit that. I left my parents, I left my country, and I joined, and it was pretty much easy for me, because the first day when I came actually to the temple, I asked them what is required to become a devotee, and they said to follow the 4 regulative principles: no eating meat, fish, and eggs, no intoxication, no illicit sex, and no gambling, which I already did. I never broke in my life these principles, except I ate eggs, but I gave up eggs too. And then they said also to chant 16 rounds. And then I said, okay, give me japa. And they said, no, you have to wait now 3 weeks. The devotees are in India. When they come back, they will bring new japas. The shop has no japas. I said, wow, 3 weeks, that's like 3 kalpas. I cannot wait so long. And then one devotee, Shana Chaitanya Prabhu, he said, okay, Mila, I will teach you how to chant on fingers like this, 12 times, 9 times like that. You know, he taught me how to chant on fingers. So day 1, I started chanting 16 rounds. I never started from 1 and then increased on 3, on 8, nothing. Fingers 16, 3 weeks, then japa 16 until this day. Now the other subject is about my YouTube channel, how I started and why I started it. It was during COVID, I think in 2020, and late 2020. I was just, you know, so much free time. Okay, then I thought now it's the best time to learn some new skill, and because I'm already very much artistically inclined, you know, I was a dancer, as I mentioned before. I was writing poetry. I'm actually a published writer. So I thought, okay, I can just maybe edit some of my poems with some music and nice videos background. And then it went on like that for a few months, hardly any subscribers. Then it was Janmashtami 2022 or 2023, I believe. Then I posted a video from Janmashtami, not showing my face, I think. I didn't show my face, too shy. And then the people started asking, oh, how you Swiss and how you came in contact with Hare Krishnas. Why did you give up your country and your religion like that? And really people were showing interest from that video on more and more. And then I felt inside in my heart that maybe this could be my seva to just inspire people around the world, especially India, because so many Indian youth are actually turning towards the West, as if the grass is greener on that side, which is not. And then one short video got viral. I mean, went viral. 52 million views within no time. I was getting 5,000 subscribers every single day, which was actually also frightening. And I remember one subscriber wrote, wow, Mila, your channel is spreading faster than Corona. That was super funny. So if you want to see that video, if you go on my channel, Milasur, Shorts, Popular, you will see it. Super simple, short video, 10 seconds or something, how I'm in the Pujari room in Zurich ISKCON, and I'm putting tulasi leaf on the offering and saying that it is necessary to place tulasi leaf when you offer foodstuffs to Krishna or Vishnu. So, okay, and beside what I'm doing, beside YouTube channel, and I have some passive income also from another sources. I'm also an published writer. I have published 2 books. The Moon is My Witness, which actually was nominated for a international Golden Rat in 2017. Yeah, I was representing Macedonia, which was a huge privilege for me. And then the second book, I think The Sun Knows, I wrote on the request or instruction of my Gurudev, He asked me, Mila, please write a book about Vrindavan and Krishna. Previous to that, every week he would send me one photograph from different places around Braja, and he would request me to write a poem, which I would email, and he would send feedback. And once he said, thank you for these gifts of sweets. So I wrote this book, half of it in Vrindavan, when I lived in Vrindavan 2.5 years, and I finished it during COVID, and it was published in 2022, in May 2022. It is available on Amazon. With this book, I also won the Janavi Health Art and Poetry grant as the best poetry book that year, 2025, best poetry book. And this is not like, not only devotees can participate, but also karmis, materialistic people can participate with their work. But the thing is, I didn't register myself by that, like in this conventional way. But one Mataji from America, Prabhupada disciple, she got to know about my book, that I'm a poet, through my YouTube channel. So she ordered the book. She is herself a poetry lover. She ordered the book and she read it and she loved it so much. So she sent one poem that was, according to her, one of the best, to His Holiness Satsvarup Maharaj. And he read the poem and then he loved it so much. He said, send me the whole book. And like that, there is a board, and they decided that this book will get that Janavi Health Reward grant for 2025. And if you allow me, I would like to read that poem that Satsvarup Maharaj liked it very much. It is page 18 from the book. And it goes like this. Of course, it's about Krishna. I plant my seeds in the monsoon season because the color of the sky, they say, resembles you so much that I'm almost certain the flowers that will grow will carry a fragrance just like you. I wrote this poem in 2021 when I was sitting on the balcony in my Swiss apartment. It was raining, the sky was so beautifully blue, and I thought, wow, Krishna must be blue like that. And the smell, from rain mixed with the grass and flowers was so amazing. So I got inspired to write this poem. Thank you very much for watching, and please do bless me so that I stay devoted to the rest of my life or life after life. Hare Krishna.